It's Riff Arcade. I'm Josh.
I'm Butts.
We're back at Ankor Wat here on Illusion of Gaia. Still can't kill these Lovecraftian horrors, but as we promised on the last episode of Riff Arcade, Butts, explain what Lovecraftian horror is and sell us on it. Get us interested.
Okay.
What you got?
I don't know if you could hear it. I just cracked my knuckles. I don't know if you could hear it. So here we go. So this is Lovecraftian horror. No, so it's named after a guy named H.P. Lovecraft. He was born in New England around the turn of the 1900s or so, and he was pretty much just like a scared little wiener kid that was just frightened of everything and wrote horror stories about it. His brand of horror consists of finding out like the scary realization that like humans aren't really that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of where the scary stuff in his stories comes from. It isn't like, oh my God, Dracula, here's this crazy monster, or oh my God, a serial killer. His stuff is like, oh my God, humans don't matter at all for anything. Like that's the horror he comes from. Yeah. I should say, just to do some due diligence here at Riff Arcade, if you can't separate art from the artist, did those skulls disappear?
They phase out of existence and chase you down like the frail, weak human being you are.
Yeah, God, this is so appropriate. So yeah, if you can't separate art from the artist, you probably shouldn't read Lovecraft because he was just a horrible racist. He's a very, very racist person. There's a lot of talk in the community about like, where does it come from? Like, does it affect his stories? Was he learning to get better as he got older? But if you can't separate it, if that's going to bother you, then just like skip right past him and find other people to read or read people that are like modern writers that have taken his work up. Because there's some people that nowadays, like Stephen King is a big Lovecraft fan. So like a lot of his work, you could see the influence and be like, oh, okay, this is a little bit better.
Right. So we're just saying that to say we are aware of that fact.
Yeah, it's not subtle. So if you have a problem with it, if that's a deal breaker for you, then don't take the deal. So, deal breaker Jones.
To be clear, Riff Arcade does not support racism. Got to make that absolutely clear.
Yeah. Oh, we're making that stand here. Yeah. We'll fall on that grenade for you guys.
Yeah.
So there's three things I would like point out that I'd say like, oh, this is very Lovecraftian. If fiction or something you're reading or watching has this in it, you might be playing something that's influenced by Lovecraft. And the first is that, like I said earlier, humans aren't very important to him. Like the way that people think about like ants and stuff like that, little bugs, like you don't go out into your yard and think about like, I wonder what these ants are doing, Pixar notwithstanding. He just thinks people aren't that important in the grand scheme of things. Like, Josh, you lived in Lake Hartwell. When you're standing on the edge of the lake, those tiny little itty-bitty fish that swim up right to the shore?
Uh-huh.
Like, how littly important, you're just like, you don't even think about them, you barely notice them? To Lovecraft, that's what humans were to, like, the grand cosmos and, like, things outside of our planet. He's just like, no, we don't matter at all.
Right. It's just kind of like we are actually the bottom of the food chain, despite what we think.
Yeah, it's even worse than that. He's like, we're so far down the totem pole that we don't even know that there is a totem pole. So, and we sit here and think we're all important, but Lovecraft's like, no, we're nothing. Don't even kid yourself. Another element of his stories is forbidden knowledge. So people finding out stuff that they are not supposed to know. So like one of his stories, he has an Antarctic expedition and they find this city that is like millions of years old, but it's clearly a city. And they're like, what? This city shouldn't be here. What is going on? Like they just can't wrap their brains around it. Oh, you turned to stone. Oh, you died. Oh no. That's even worse, I guess.
I did just want to point out really quick that these enemies I'm fighting, you guys have probably pieced it together just from watching, but like the whole deal with these enemies is that
that was cool.
They go faster every time you hit them. So like you hit him once and he's just like, okay, cruising speed. And then you hit him again and he's like, all right, okay, huh? But then like, they just go nuts. Look at him go. The fastest thing of the game.
Just gets angrier and angrier.
Holy moly.
I didn't notice that.
And this thing poops snakes. Like, this is the perfect
Lasers and
dungeon
snakes.
to discuss Lovecraftian horror.
Yeah, this is great. I didn't want to know that. I didn't want to know this.
We are at the bottom of the totem pole.
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah, the other thing about Lovecraft is he thinks that people's sanity, like your ability to relate to the world, is very, very fragile. And he's like, that can go in an instant, and you have no control over that.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, a lot of the characters in the stories, when they figure out, like, after they find the giant city, they'll, like, one guy will just absolutely go insane right there on the spot because his brain just cannot handle what is processing.
Just like,
yeah.
so like according to Lovecraft, like if only we knew what was just behind the thin veiled curtain, our brains would just go mad from the knowledge that it's even there.
Absolutely, yes. I'm pretty sure that's a quote. Like,
oh, okay.
Like, Josh, you are absolutely right on the ball on that one. Yeah, he's like, people cannot handle what is actually going on. And if you knew what was actually going on, you would go insane, and there's nothing you could do about it. Those are Lovecraft stories.
Okay.
They're just real uplifting stuff. Yeah. If you knew the speed that these guys could fly, like they're kind of taunting you with how fast they're going.
They kind of are.
There you go.
Cool. So what are some examples? Give me some good examples of Lovecraftian horror in... Whoa! All right. Okay.
Whoa. Oh. And, black inky nothingness.
Wait for it.
This is good. Wait. Those bugs?
I'm walking on things. I can't tell what they are. Josh, zoom in on that to give the audience a really good look at exactly what that is, and then I'm gonna let y'all. I'm gonna let y'all decide in the comments what the heck that is Will's walking on.
I'm doing the gagging thing from Dumb and Dumber. Just all right, so if you want to know more, if you're like, I want to be like Butts and read Lovecraft. Some movies that are kind of Lovecraftian. One of your favorites, Josh, Event Horizon.
Oh, that is
very
one of my favorites.
Lovecraftian. Evil Dead, the Evil Dead series, even though it's kind of like comedic, especially the first one is very Lovecraftian.
Okay.
Annihilation is kind of a newer one. It's a very, very creepy movie. John Carpenter's The Thing. That's a good Lovecraftian.
Oh, yeah,
it's just
that's true.
An alien, you have no idea what is going on, and like you're just paranoid, and things go sideways quick. I would even make a case that Ghostbusters has some Lovecraftian themes in it, where Gozer is just like this being from another dimension that is you don't know what's going on.
Yeah, that's true. Because it's not like the Ghostbusters made these things show up. Like they were always there.
Yes, like an evil cult that worships a being from another dimension that is coming here to destroy humanity for reasons we don't know. That is like the poster child for Lovecraftian. So
I see.
That's if you wanted some books, The Mist by Stephen King is a good one. It's about just a fog that envelops a town, and there are monsters in it, and no one knows what's going on. They're just like, what? Like, you don't get any answers. The Hellboy comics are very Lovecraftian, especially some of the earlier ones. Like, have you seen Hellboy, the first movie?
I have, but it's been a while. It's been a little bit.
That's another one. Ron Perlman, just
yes,
artfully playing Hellboy. And here's an odd one. If you look at Jinjo Ito's Uzumaki, it's a manga from Japan. Okay. About a village that just all this crazy stuff goes on. That's very Lovecraftian. He likes Lovecraft, so read that. And because we're a gaming channel, let's talk about games. We mentioned Bloodborne and Eternal Darkness. Josh, Eternal Darkness is absolutely a Lovecraft game. Like that is, if you play through that, you know what the deal is.
I do. I did finally go back and beat it after we played it for Halloween. I did finally go back and beat it for Halloween.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, it didn't age well. Okay, go on.
Okay, well, yeah, they never do. There's actually a game called Call of Cthulhu that I've played that's really, really good. If you want like an original story based on Lovecraft's work, that's a really good one. It's kind of a open worldy detective whodunit with some like some quick time set pieces in it, but it's really good. Dead Space, if anybody who's played Dead Space, that's got some Lovecraft things in it. Yep. Bugs shooting lasers at you. And I'm going to throw it way back. The same studio that gave us Zork, they made a point-and-click adventure game called The Lurking Horror back in 1987, and that is based on Lovecraft's work.
Okay.
Even sounds like it, The Lurking Horror.
I'm really hoping... Yes! This enemy drops a health power-up!
Oh, boy, you need it.
Woo! That's what I wanted. Daddy like.
Oh, wow. Oh, full. Well, almost full.
Okay, that's where I fell in the pit. So I'm here now.
Oh, good. I've not been paying attention at all. What are we're looking for a teapot? Is that a tea?
No. So at this point, the natives... What am I doing here? Anyway, the natives were about to eat us, but then they ate the pig instead. They ate Hamlet.
Oh, yeah.
God rest his soul. And
yeah. It's tasty. Finger licking something.
And the natives sent me this way to maybe try to help them out. Maybe there's some evil going down at this place, and I need to sort it out.
Ooh, there we go. With your flute.
I feel like I missed something. Let me jump back down
And
the
back
pit.
in
Yay!
Why are they sticky?
Yeah, it sounds like they're in pain when I run across them for some reason.
I don't like them.
Yeah, I feel like there might be an exit through here somewhere that I missed.
Going back to what we were talking about, what's funny is I'm not big on horror movies. Like, I don't like horror. I don't like to watch horror movies.
Yes.
In fact, I don't even think I've even seen any of the movies I saw Ghostbusters. Of course, I've seen Ghostbusters.
Right.
I don't really like watching horror movies, and I don't watch TV shows or creepy things like that. But I will read horror, and I don't know why that's okay with me.
I'm glad you said that because here's my deal: is I love intellectual horror. Yep, here they come. Like,
oh God, swing and a miss, man. There you go.
I also like butts. I also really don't like watching scary movies, but I really love intellectually, just like really interesting concepts in the horror world, like really interesting stories that come out of them. So what I'll do is, I will actually, every time a horror movie comes out that everyone raves about, so I've been doing this with like Us, like some Jordan Peele movies, like Get Out, those movies. Yeah. Like they came out and everyone raved about them, but they were horror movies. So I was like, well, I don't really want to be, I don't want to have to go through watching the horror movie. So what I always do for all these kinds of movies is I'll go on Wikipedia and just read the plot.
Yeah, that's actually kind of, I think you would like Lovecraft because his, spoiler alert, he's not a good writer. Like he's just not a good writer, but his stories always have some interesting, like, oh, that's a good idea. Like he has good ideas, he's just not very good at writing them. So if you can slog through the not good parts, you will get to the like, oh, okay, here we go, nice.
Yeah, because
like for instance, one of his the story about going to Antarctica, like I said, I kid you not, Josh. He has 2.5 paragraphs of him describing this ice boring drill that the team has about like how it was made and the metal and how it's better than the old one and how it disassembles and how they brought it together. It's just like, why is this in here? Like, oh, nice dodge. So like, he's not a good writer. But then when you get to the part where there are good ideas, it's like, oh, this is cool. This is a neat idea.
One thing, going way back, one thing you did say that really interested me is at the beginning of the conversation was you said a lot of his writing doesn't come from him sitting down and thinking, ooh, you know what would be creepy to the reader? Ooh, you know what would make a good story? No, he just wrote down his own actual fears on paper.
Yes. Yeah, he's a really paranoid guy. Yeah, he's not like, oh, there's a creepy monster. I'm going to describe how like Dracula sucked the blood from his victims. Like, no, he's basically like, look, here's this monster that is indescribable, and it's just sitting in front of this guy. And like, part of that's kind of neat because you get to imagine what it looks like, but he's just basically like, no, the scary part of his stories is like you can't even picture what is going on.
Oh yeah, isn't Cloverfield technically a Lovecraftian horror? Because it's like you don't see him until like the very end of the movie.
Kind of. It's kind of like, it's Lovecraftian in the sense of like you have no idea why the monster's tearing up New York, and you don't know where it came from. You're just like the panic of I'm in this situation and I have no idea how to get out of it or why I'm here. That could be Lovecraftian, but it's more like we know why Godzilla was tearing up Tokyo, I guess, and
okay,
they were just like, what if we didn't know Godzilla? But this is like Lovecraft is more like, if you would never see Cloverfield, but you would just know that like there's a monster called Cloverfield out there, and if it ever makes it to a city, it's going to kill everybody in it, and you're trying to figure out what it is and why, and you never can.
Okay. So it's a lot of, I don't know much about Lovecraft, not nearly as much as you, but I always thought that was one of the tenets of it, was that oftentimes you don't know what the monster even is.
Yeah, it's even a step further. It's like you can't even comprehend the monster. Like it's like if in a bug's life, at the end of a bug's life, like they were like, yay, we defeated the wasps, and then suddenly there's like a drone strike from the US military, and that's the new person they have to fight. Okay. It's like you have no chance, the bugs have no chance of winning, and they could not even comprehend what a drone is, much less how to beat it. That's Lovecraft. And Lovecraft's horror is, no, you think that the universe is nice and orderly and predictable, but no, you have no way of knowing. It's an uncaring universe that you don't even know the starting point to how to begin to understand this universe.
Okay.
Isn't that terrifying? And like, yeah, kind of is.
So a bad time for everybody is what is a lot of it.
Yeah, it's like you think you're top of the food chain, you're a big deal on Earth, and it's like Earth's not even worth being on the map of the universe. Like,
yeah,
that
so
kind of thing.
Truly insignificant. Yep.
Yeah,
and we end with
I think in Call of Cthulhu, which is like, that's a good story if you want to like actually read his stuff. That's a pretty good one to start with. You don't even meet the monster Cthulhu until like the very, very end of the book. Or not even the book, it's like 3 short stories. And even then, he's only in like 2 or 3 scenes. The rest of the time, Lovecraft's just building up what this monster is and like how crazy it is that people are trying to find out what's going on with it. So it's very like, it's one of those like, if you can get into this kind of stuff, you're like, oh, this is cool. But if you're like, this is weird, then just don't even worry about it.
Okay.
But like, cool. it tickled. Yeah, it's Chef Kissy Fingers from me. I'm just like, oh yeah, oh, this is the fun stuff to read.
Solid overview of Lovecraftian horror. Well done. Yep. Are we in this episode fighting the same little weird creepy bushes that got me on this tirade in the first place?
Okay. Yeah, nothing's changed. Wonderful.
These things. We're still in H.P. Lovecraft. So yep, here they are. Did they move?
Yeah. Time to do some gardening. Hoping he throws like some cool puns in there.
So yes, that's it. We've made it to the inner courtyard of Ankor Wat. I think that'll do it for this episode. The bones of a lost explorer fascinated by something? There's some kind of journal in there.
Knowing what we just talked about, we should not read that journal.
We'll read it on the next episode of Riff Arcade. See you then. Do not peel back the dark veil that hides humanity.
Oh, God!